Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Agatha Christie's The ABC Murders. So we are on to our third victim. This time it is a male who seems to be the doctor that probably was treating the throats of both previous victims. Because she, but yeah, or at least treating Alice Asher. It's definitely a switch as far as your picked victims. It seems like they are very much just picking people, the murderer is picking people based on their names and the fact that they're cheating and the fact that they all seem to ride the same railroad. And it seems almost stupidly ignorant to not realize that the ABC guide is not just there to indicate that, oh, this is the city that we're going to. Um, Interesting that it kind of muted there. But yeah, to move to a
This
male
place is very calming.
from two females, it's a little bit different. And see, these puzzles feel a little weird. Certainly, that you're just observing
The
a
site is
calming.
exceptional. It is easy to imagine that Sir Carmichael used to enjoy stopping here every evening.
So, if he's a sir, then that puts him in a higher class of status as far as the way the British people think in their stupid
The
class
body is
system.
just in front of a bush, one of the only bushes in the surrounding area.
It's a funny way to pronounce the word area, but okay. We're doing a very video game thing here where we're avoiding the obvious in hopes of.
I'm not going to leave now. I still have some clues to find.
Okay, so that's the exit. We're avoiding the obvious to see if maybe there's side quests or content. We probably should observe
The
everything.
vegetation behind the bush has been trampled.
So somebody was hiding behind the bush. They jumped out. They slit his throat. This time it seems like
Jab has emptied the victim's pockets and has laid out their contents on this piece of waxcloth.
like you have to assume in this case that the murderer came with a knife, where he did not come particularly prepared to kill in the two
It
previous.
is pointless.
Uh, I wonder why that says it is pointless.
An oriental dragon. It's an old piece, much older than the pocket watch on which it was fastened.
Yeah, we have a goat sound. And it being broken might establish a time of murder, but the time of murder may not
Nothing
really be
appears to
that
be
big of an
missing from
issue.
this wallet.
It seems like a lot of money, but he is upper class, and we can certainly see.
A signet ring, very probably with the Clark family's coat of arms.
So robbery obviously is not motivation here. It still feels fine, weird though, that you would target people who have been cheating. Like, and then serial killer. It almost feels like it would have to be somebody like a bishop or a preacher or something that rails constantly against infidelity, and is just obsessed with it. Because, yeah, to go after cheaters so much, you'd think that would express itself in other ways. There seems to be no condemnation on other puritanical aspects. For instance, living apart would have been considered unchristianly, and let's just face it, Church of England, mostly Christian. live in England during the time, or in the UK. Um, so, like the lady living alone or working in general, all things that a very puritanical person would be against. The drinking of alcohol for the second victim, the or the going out and singing and dancing. I mean, those are all very puritanical things too. Now, I guess the UK is not as puritanical as the people that went over to America in a lot of these aspects, but there doesn't seem to be any condemnation happening for anything that you could make an argument this guy is immorally greedy and wealthy from the looks of it, and probably with intergenerational
Sir Carmichael's throat was cut.
wealth.
It's a clean incision, a professional murder.
And the idea that this would be a strangers on the train situation where there's like three different people killing three different other people for three different other people becomes really hard to believe, but it might really be that case. It also explain why you'd have a murder here where it looks a lot more planned out, a lot more professional, where killing the two previous women seems to be spur of the moment things.
The gravel on the path has been sprayed with blood that covers a conical-shaped area, which starts at the body and becomes wider as it moves further from the bush.
Let's see.
Apart from the wound to the throat, the body is untouched. No cuts, no bruises. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
Interesting. It's going to literally jump us out when we hadn't even looked at anything. That seems weird. Let's see. Well, that one and that one and that one would be what I would guess. But maybe it's that one. So Carmichael had his back to the bush.
Sir Carmichael had his back to the bush when the killer cut his throat from behind. A fatal blow that sprayed blood over a range of more than 1 meter. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
It definitely feels like there's some QA that could have happened here as far as just the flow of how things would work. Did Carmichael see his murderer? I'd say probably no. Which probably helps a little bit. And see, that just starts a whole nother element.
Have you finished, Poirot?
Chief Inspector, many questions remain unanswered, but I am certain of one thing.
Murder was carefully planned. I can guess that one to be the right answer. But it seems weird because I wonder if you have to do exact actions in the order that happened in the book too, because I've now missed an observation.
The killer
And I
has
want
prepared his
to try
crime
and go
very
back
carefully.
and do it again.
Quite right. He must have known Sir
That gave me
Carmichael's
8
movements
ego
well to plan
points
such an
instead of
attack.
10.
The murderer struck with terrible savagery.
Yes, blood flowed. It's the first time he's attacked a man. He armed himself accordingly.
Have you spoken to the victim's family, Chief Inspector?
I've spoken to the brother, Franklin Clark. I didn't get much out of him. He's yours. I must get the body removed.
It seems like they have more of a haste to move an upper class man's body than they did moving the other bodies. So let's observe this and see if we can recoup the
An ABC guide. The murderer's
ego
customary
points.
signature, covered in blood this time.
Why is it covered in blood? See, and that seems like that didn't give me any ego points. Well, that's irritating. And let's see. Weird that the audio sometimes seems to cut out when you go to this. Yeah, it just kind of seems to cut out after a few seconds. Is it consistently cutting out after a few seconds? No. Yeah, there definitely is a problem with this engine. Like,
I had better go up to campsite.
So we're just, I suppose, walking away from this area, and it feels like it would have been fairly easy to miss an area to click on. It's nice to see all this flowing grass and stuff, but do you really need that in the point and click murder mystery? Would anybody bat an eye or even notice if this grass was simply static, hand drawn? It would probably even fit better with the characters themselves, which there is still that disconnect between the way the characters are drawn and the way everything else in the world is drawn.
To be honest, this inspector seems rather obtuse. I'm counting on your friend Poirot to catch my brother's murderer. Ah, here he is now. Please, Mr. Poirot. Mr. Poirot, this is my brother's secretary, Miss Thora Gray.
So,
pleased to meet you, Mr. Poirot. Would you like some tea?
She has
No, thank you,
a
mademoiselle.
dragon
I find it hard to
pendant,
digest.
and that suspects that either they are all are in a secret society together, or that she is straight up also sleeping with the brother, which would not be unheard of for somebody to sleep with their secretary.
It is not the right time.
So it seemingly
It is not the right time.
means we cannot observe anything at all.
It is not the right time.
Until we interview. And
It is not the right time. Hastings does not like very hot tea. He's going to blow on his cup for a good while before drinking.
let's see if we were to have a conversation right
Everybody is absorbed in their cup of tea. Let us take advantage of the opportunity to observe them discreetly. It is not the right time.
now. So we're supposed to be observing this guy or this guy. I am much more interested in her.
There is something elegant about her.
Old brooch. Understated makeup. Well-tailored, very classic blouse.
She has good taste, except perhaps in her choice of jewelry.
Please excuse me, I have to take care of Lady Clark.
There's real question. Oh, you don't even get the questioner. Though, why would the other two victims be in a secret society? That would be the weird part.
It is not the right time.
I suppose we could go...
It is a
Could've-
once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to question him.
Well, you don't observe anything from him.
It is not the right time.
It definitely feels like we are just going to end up having to observe a lot of things later.
My brother's wife is gravely ill. You will probably want to question her, but I fear that it won't be possible today.
Interesting. So he was cheating on a wife. See, it's a little also weird that the second victim was cheating on a future husband, not a insist, be understanding. I think Poirot would insist.
I insist, Mr. Clark. Please allow me to remind you that this is a murder inquiry.
Unfortunately, she is much too ill. She doesn't even know her husband is dead. I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid it's out of the question.
Yeah, the lip sync
Of
still
I understand.
Like, it's
Someone set
barely
a trap
even
for your brother.
moving.
Who was familiar with his habits?
Everybody knew he took his
It's
evening
like
walk at
one-
8:30, and that he always followed the same path.
See, even if he was speaking like Japanese, and this was originally created for the Japanese market game, that's still not enough lip flap, and I seriously doubt that's the case anyways. So I just think what they've probably done is they made a very short, very simplistic animation loop of people's lips going up and down, and not even bothered to time it even close to when the amount of dialogue that's being said, which oddly is easier to do than you would think, considering how one animator might be working with a completely different group of people than the writer, who might be changing the story or the dialogue up to the last second.
Was it a dark night?
It was a new moon. I took a lantern.
So it was you who found the body.
Yes, along with the gardener.
Have you seen any strangers around the house recently?
No. As far as I know, nobody has been near the house.
This is where the LA Noir concept kind of falls apart too.
Oh, Lady Clark must
And-
have fallen from her chair. I have to help Miss Grey get her up.
Yeah, it does seem to me like
Hastings, while our host is gone, let's examine the drawing room.
the
But,
concept.
Poirot, a gentleman shouldn't...
I take full responsibility. All you have to do is to leave the drawing room door ajar and let me know if anyone is coming.
Like, it definitely strikes me as like L.A. Noir had an idea, certainly, around having actors try and do facial emotions and doing the face scans. It didn't really
Homicide's
work.
private collection, purchases since 1920. The catalogue for Sir Carmichael Clark's collection.
Interesting.
A tiger. A turtle.
Interesting. There's a different.
Dragon, dragon, dragon. Sir Carmichael showed himself to be very consistent in his collection's theme. A dragon.
So why was I given the dragon plate?
A crane?
So this is the four gods of the Chinese mythology. The dragon is I believe, dragon of the north, most commonly in Mahjong. Tiger, south, east, west, or east, west, one or the other. So each plate is pointing like a compass, but only in the mythology of like Asians. That it'd be questionable if
It
anybody
is an emperor.
like Poirot would
His
know
place
that.
at the center of the table is probably symbolic.
Right, that's everything on the table.
There are some very valuable objects here.
Interesting. And here we have the traditional Chinese map, which seems to says facsimile south is upward.
Traditional Chinese map. Facsimile. South is on the top of the map.
And so these would be the letters of the four corners. So it seems like there's probably a puzzle where we take these plates and put them on the four corners, but the translation there is lacking.
Sir
even for
Carmichael's
me.
collection could rival that of a major museum.
This is one of those things that really highlights how just brazenly the theft went on of other people's cultural property in the UK. That the empire conquered and plundered quite excessively.
It's locked.
Well, we did see that key in his possessions. We didn't grab the keys, which it would have been really smart to grab the key if you for later. Alright. So it seems like we've got a 3D visualization of a bookcase that seems at an odd scale. Alright. So
The cardinal points. This book could maybe help me.
each
Each
animal
cardinal point is associated with one animal and one color. In the middle sits the imperial dragon, and out of respect, all the others are turned towards him.
Let's see. Good news is we don't have to read any of that, and there isn't a second page or anything to that. Okay.
Turtle, the dragon, the crane, and the tiger. I think I've already seen this motif somewhere.
So seems like we would end up rotating a lot of things. We can easily do that much. And then do that much. And then it's just a matter of, I guess, two colors overlapping. So do that. And that. And I wonder if there's any merging that would happen here. Or perhaps see, it seems to be gray, white, and black. Okay, so that should be that.
Position of each motif resembles that of those on the table. I think I heard a bang. Could it be this cupboard?
So, a little bit twisted, but whatever. I brute forced that more
This
than I
is
fully understood.
interesting.
And so we have a knife missing, which makes it seem much more premeditated.
These daggers are only ceremonial weapons. I do not think that the crime weapon is here.
I wonder if this murder is actually not the ABC killer. Well, the letters match. The envelope didn't. Could somebody perhaps intercepted the mail and decided to kill Carmichael and make it look like the ABC killer and then deliver the letter? And is there possibly another victim that we're going to find that was murdered today? It wouldn't be insane for two people to be murdered on the same day, because otherwise you have someone who has a lot more preparation and planning going around this murder. That being said, that might be fine, because that would then just line up with the original thought that this character may very well have been the actual victim that was planned to be murdered all along, and the first two murders were simply designed to cover up the fact that they wanted to kill Carmichael, and that this is a great way of making it look like, oh, it's some random killer versus, oh, it's a jilted secretary / lover.
Ernest Logan, MD, Brighton Cancer Institute, 201 Dusk Road, Brighton, Sussex. To Sir Carmichael Clark, MD, Comside Churton, Devon. Brighton, 1935, January the 5th. As a man of science, I owe it to you to be completely frank. Lady Clark, your wife is suffering from a generalized terminal cancer. I confess I didn't suspect anything like that during the first exams. But with the test results I have received today, there is unfortunately no place for doubt. I estimate that Lady Clark's life expectancy is no more than 1 year. Hospitalization would not help in her case, so I advise you to keep her at home and provide her with as much morphine as required to ease her last moments. Yours sincerely, Ernest Logan.
So that's basically telling him to kill her with morphine.
Here's Miss Grey.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Lady Clark's condition requires regular care. I believe you want to ask me a few questions.
Indeed, mademoiselle.
She's oddly tilting forward.
This porcelain is remarkable. Is it old?
It's about 3 centuries old, I believe. Wait, let me find the reference.
We got an achievement. Meanwhile, it seems like now we're being asked to go back into it. We don't know that she's an orphan yet. They jumped the gun on that one. We don't have any questions right now either. We got 10 ego points, but clearly we've missed some things. And once again, the game is kind of messing us up with the cursor icons. Sometimes it tells us the right thing, sometimes it tells us the wrong thing.
She appears to be very flustered.
Of course, she's been crying. Partially removed lipstick. Does she have any dirt under her fingernails? The brooch is missing now. Quick breath.
She's unable to hide her emotion, and her makeup has been disturbed. I think that this young woman has just been kissed.
Oh, so she's making out with the
Here?
brother.
Teapot with black dragon, Gangshi period, end of the 17th century. It is a rare piece with unusual colours.
It's kind of pointless to let her look
You
up that
have a good knowledge
information.
of art history.
But I guess it lets Poirot
Acquired
observe
while
her.
working with Sir Carmichael.
Man, you
I
just
used to
get
help him manage his
constant
collection
achievements in this game.
and choose his new acquisitions.
And see, certainly with any murder mystery game, and this is probably the problem with mysteries and why we don't see so many of them in point-and-click adventure form or video game form in general, is that I'm enjoying right now trying to figure out who did it, and probably am laughably wrong for anybody who does know who did it, although it is possible that people who read the book are going to be surprised to find that someone else did it in the video game, and that there's a major difference there. As soon as I play the game, unless they have a randomization algorithm in there where there are multiple suspects and the game throws out different clues for different suspects, you coming back and playing this game a second time is almost ridiculous, which then makes doing it a second time to get achievements fairly ridiculous also. I really wouldn't be able to play this game a second time and get 100% of the ego points even now, because I'm not getting significant noticeable negative feedback when I choose the wrong dialogue choice, for instance during the interviews. It would be very easy for it to say green, flash green or flash red, just to tell me whether I did it well or not, or tell me specifically that I gained +1 ego point right as I clicked on a box, if it just said +1 then. versus +3 or +0. We're not losing any ego points. So the only way I could imagine the ego point system really working is if you just were able to play the game a second time and you got in a new game plus, you got the default amount of ego points you already had ending the game the first time. So if you were like 100 ego points short, you just started a new game plus, did the same things, you earned that missing 100, and then you would be done, versus actually playing all the way through. Ask if they embarrassed to be in the service of an elderly man. Ask what her relationship was with her employer. Well, which one is more important, do you think? Did you give her, if you gave her gifts, or what a relationship was? Which one is more likely for Poirot? Do you come out straight, or do you catch him in a lie? Like, is the point here to kind of catch them in the lie and push them into a lie, or is it to give them as early an opportunity to tell you the full truth immediately? It almost seems like the third option may always be the best option, and that would be interesting if there was a new game plus where there was a fourth option, which that would make more sense for this, the way this is lined up.
Did you have a good relationship with your employer?
He treated me well, and I am sorry for his death.
Have you seen any strangers hanging around in the past few days?
No. Nobody has been near Cumside.
Let's see. It certainly seems like that probably was the wrong answer, and you can't go back and loop back to the conversation.
What were you doing yesterday evening at the time of the murder?
I was sleeping. I was woken by the telephone at 11. I heard Franklin Clark speaking with the gardener. They left with some lanterns, and they found the body.
Let's see. What would be funny here is if you caught her in a confession that she heard Franklin Clark speaking to the garden as she was sleeping, because she was sleeping in the same bed as Franklin.
Am I right thinking that something is going on between you and Franklin?
How dare you ask me such a question?
Accuser asked for confirmation that she kissed Franklin. Accuser. I think Poirot accuses.
And you? How do you dare kiss your good friend in the house of a dead man?
Mr. Poirot, you are behaving despicably.
See, is that wrong, or is that right?
Miss Grey, if I may be so bold, please do not take offence. My friend has rather unusual methods, but all he wants is to find the murderer.
See, that gave me 4 ego points,
Yes,
so apparently I
understand.
messed up.
I must rest. Please excuse me.
So did I do that completely wrong, or half
Earlier,
wrong?
you asked me to watch the living room door for you. I don't wish to be indiscreet, but sometimes a gentleman stumbles upon a secret without intending to.
That is sometimes the case.
And I saw Franklin Clark kissing Miss Grey at the foot of the stairs.
Do you think this is a common occurrence?
No, I saw emotion, intensity. I think it was their first kiss.
Interesting.
Well done, mon ami. Well spotted.
So,
However,
what
I
was
don't
the
think I
point of that
completely understand this
conversation?
business. Why did Sir Carmichael not defend himself? He appeared to have been active and strong.
The murderer did not give him a chance. Let us try and reconstruct the scene.
This definitely feels like this is going to be a shorter investigation, which is fine because we kind of need the investigations to be shorter the further this goes into the alphabet. Like, seriously, we
Sir
can only
Clark
have like
is taking
2
his
or
customary
3
walk.
more
Our killer
murders
is hiding behind a
before this
bush.
gets very redundant. I mean, thinking of 26 different ways in which people can be murdered,
The old
and
man
using them
walks
all
quietly
in one
along the gravel
story
path.
is fairly excessive. Let's see. Admire Carmichael or wait? Well, I think we admired him.
Then he turns towards the sea to gaze at it.
And then we attack from the... assuming he's on the right-handedness. It seems kind of like he attacked from the left, because he would have had to have gotten the left part of his throat, which seemed to be slashed.
The killer leaves his hiding place on the left-hand side. He walks over the gravel on the path. The noise alerts Sir Clark, who turns around.
No, Sir Clark was attacked by surprise. He could not see his assailant. Let us think again, mon cher.
So, that's what they meant by attack from the left? Almost
Sir
certainly
Clark
the
is
reason
taking
why
his
I haven't
customary
gotten
walk.
all the ego points is
Killer
because I
is
keep
hiding
failing
behind a
these.
bush.
And I, again, probably wouldn't remember the correct
The
way to
old
do
man
all of
walks
this,
quietly along the gravel
even in a
path.
second playthrough. I'd have to play the game immediately after playing it the first time, the second time.
Then he turns towards the sea to gaze at it.
These prompts are not explanatory enough. And the
killer leaves his hiding place on the right-hand
interface
side.
not working
He
great.
approaches silently over the grass.
And then he cuts the throat.
Then he throws himself on his prey and cuts the poor man's throat.
See, I was thinking that he would have
He then
attacked
lays down the ABC before leaving.
from the left. It meant the left side of his body,
Everything
not the right
appears to
side.
match the crime scene, mon cher Hastings. That is exactly what happened.
And there's this weirdness, certainly, in that you very possibly just end the story, the investigation of that murder, right then and there.
Oh, just a minute. I'm getting dressed.
Alexander Bonaparte Cust. Well, his names are ABC. So the story is just straight up going to tell you.
Mr. Kirst, have you recently returned from Churston?
Yes, indeed I have.
Have you seen the papers? And to think that you might have rubbed shoulders with the killer. Imagine that. Mr. Kirst, are you all right? You don't seem well.
My apologies. My throat is burning and my head feels heavy. It's ever since the war, you know. Since my injury, my head has never been the same.
So the story just straight up tells you who the murderer is. Interesting. I was not expecting that. They pretty much
Poirot, it's a pleasure to
highlight
be with you again
that the
after all these years.
murderer
I looked for a
is
gift to thank you.
probably
and
crazy
I found this propelling pencil.
after the war.
An authentic collector's item. You spoil me, mon ami.
And you more so by sharing investigations.
Do not underestimate the help you
These
are to
two
me,
come
Hastings.
off as
Intellect
kind of
is
like
not everything. There is also goodwill, and you are
A
not short of that.
homosexual couple.
Later, I will ask you to help me tidy up the room and
I
bring
wonder
some
if that
chairs.
was
Our guests
subtly
will be here
included
soon.
for the
Ah,
time that I
is Thora
mentioned
Grey
these
coming?
stories would have been written.
Naturally.
That
She is
probably
a
couldn't have been
fascinating young woman,
overtly
n'est-ce pas?
said.
Oh, come on, Poirot. I'm a married man. And Miss Grey has already been courted by Franklin Clark. Poirot, our guests will be here soon. We must prepare ourselves.
So I'm a little confused as to what we're doing with the game now.
I should take advantage of the silence to examine them.
Like, we must just be at the end of the game. You've just obtained a modifiable object. It's really late in the game to get a tutorial. To use it, select the object in your inventory and click on the icon. It's only available if modification is possible. Yep. So Yeah. It seems like ABC is as far as it goes, which that makes, I guess, enough sense. Seems like we have no brain cells. Seems like we're getting achievements all over the place. Let's see. So you have this pin, which is modifiable, which... Why would I modify the pin? And it just kind of does that animation again. I guess that gives me a spring. Why did I need a spring? I don't know. I don't think we're to that point yet. So this is pretty much everybody we've seen. And then there's just bringing them all together to make kind of the statement. We know all of these people have been in a sordid affair where this girl's sister and this man's wife-to-be was sleeping with the doctor, who she seems to have been maybe sleeping with the victim and maybe is now moving on to the brother. And this is the niece of the first victim, who is also sleeping with the doctor, almost certainly. And unless the gardener is cursed, we really have no connection with anybody as far as the murderer. It certainly would make a lot more sense, though, that you could make a list of 3 people that just by coincidence had ABC in the name, versus...
I ought to concentrate on my guests.
Instead
Franklin
of
Clark always seems at
26
ease,
people.
regardless of where he is. Something that's unique to people who travel.
Okay, so that was 2 observations. Seems like there probably isn't any other observations in this room. And this is a weird third person, isometric perspective of the camera from a first person view, where we've been third person perspective throughout the entire game before this.
Sometimes I love a brunette, sometimes I love a blonde. That's what the song says.
Yep, and see, she's back to wearing the brooch. They clearly didn't want to do too many different variations in clothing, so they're all pretty much wearing the same clothing as before, which makes a lot more sense that this one would be in mourning and wearing black, but then it doesn't really make sense that nobody else is wearing black.
The song says, sometimes I love a blonde who comes from Eden by way of Sweden. But I am not sure that this blonde is an angel.
It would be really funny if it turned out that they got the wrong person, and the person we just saw that looked like the murderer is actually not the murderer, and he just had coughed up blood. Like, Donald here seems completely unlikely to be it.
Donald is always on edge.
Who we're missing here is the drunk husband and the fruit lady and the ginger cat lady. So, I mean, you could certainly fill...
Leave me alone.
You could certainly fill the entirety of the room with different characters.
Donald Fraser is very nervous at the moment, even if he's trying hard to control himself. She appears to have taken more care with her appearance than the last time.
She wants to be with Donald. So it really is the same story twice over. You have a woman who wanted...
She's looking at Mr. Fraser out of the corner of her eye. Did she make herself beautiful for him?
So yeah, let's think about this.
I wish to thank you all
him,
for coming.
so she could have
I
murdered her
wanted to
sister.
bring everyone close to the victim's ear in order to unmask the murderer.
It almost
Get to the
makes
point,
sense if
Mr.
there were
Poirot.
two female
What do you
murderers.
want from us?
But then why the first one? Unless she wanted to murder her aunt. It would be really funny in this story because it'd be really funny if this turned out to be a story where she murdered her sister, she murdered the brother, and she murdered her aunt. Particularly if she murdered her aunt to sleep with the drunk husband. That would be very strange if you went that route, because it's not like we've had particularly a lot of female characters here that have a lot of personality, although Donald doesn't have much of a personality and he doesn't have much of a personality. You're being weighted down, I think, in this story just by the fact that Poirot has to be this huge ego, and the fact that there's just too many people in a story like this. This feels like a book series that could have been a trilogy if you fleshed it out more and made the characters more of characters.
Megan, dear
I'm gonna
girl,
go
please
with
be
this.
patient.
Mr. Poirot, how dare you address me by my first name?
Please excuse me, mademoiselle.
Hmm.
What I ask is that you
Was that
search
a
your memories.
Ego
The murderer
point,
must
or
have
was that a
left some
mistake?
trace.
Yes, he must have prepared his crimes very carefully.
Tout à fait. He did not get to Bexhill at midnight in order to strangle a young girl whose name by chance starts with P.
Must we go into that?
Let's see. Small donkey. I wonder. I'd like to know what some of these achievements are I'm earning for what reason. Do we tell him to get a grip of himself, or do we get wordy with it?
Mr. Fraser, please get a grip on yourself.
Well,
I guess
I want to help you, but
that was the right
I don't
answer.
remember anything else. Nothing I haven't already said.
And you, Mademoiselle Barnard, did your sister say she was seeing another man?
She never would have told me.
Urge Megan, or ask Megan why Betty didn't say anything. Let's go with this route.
Why would she hide the fact from you?
Betty knew I didn't approve of her behaviour. Her flirting was spoiling any chance she might have
Seems
had.
like almost every
Tell me,
answer
mademoiselle,
is
what
on
did
the
you
right,
talk about with your
too.
sister?
I'm mostly
Silly
picking
things.
right answers.
Her new dress. She wanted a pair of black stockings to go with it. Mother bought her a brand new pair. The day it happened, she was crying. And to think that Betty never even wore them.
The mother
Poor
bought the black
mummy.
pair of stockings.
Your sister used to sing, I believe. Did she ever perform in public?
She dreamt about it, but she had a very bad cough. It troubled her greatly.
I wonder if
She
the
had to cancel
stockings are just a
auditions and
red
miss lots of
herring.
opportunities. A pity.
Yes, she sang well, but that doesn't tell us much about the murderer.
Qui sait? In any case, we now have enough information to draw up a relatively precise psychological profile. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
Interesting. Is the killer clever? Observation of Hercule Poirot. Let's see. Which one? Like, it's not really clever to announce your murder. Killing people when the street is bold is not really clever. I think this last one is the right answer. Is the killer sure of himself? Sure. That one would explain sure of himself, yes. Feels like we should have been able to we should have been able to interview the other people too. So maybe there's a branching path here where you interview different people right at this point, but it would be really ridiculous to hours within the game have to play the first half of the game or the first majority of the game just to get to a branching path at the very end. Is the killer impulsive? I'd say not so much. Is the killer generous? I'd say yes. This is probably the first time where we're going to use every bit of information. Nope, not all of it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we can now surmise without too much risk of error that our adversary is calculative, sure of himself, a seducer, of outstanding intelligence, that he has plenty of self-control, and that he likes railways. It's a good start. Other meetings may be
and that
necessary.
gave me 10 ego
I
points.
hope that you will be able to come back again.
Well, it's just that...
Point out that she is short of money for the train. Ask Mary what is bothering her.
You do not have the money to pay for the train, is that it?
It's normal that people helping with this inquiry should be reimbursed. Starting with you, Miss Drower. Please allow me to pay for your train tickets.
Oh, sir, I cannot accept.
But you must. Mademoiselle, I may not be rich, but my brother left a fortune which will be mine.
Mr. Clark, that's very generous of you.
Well, someone has to foot the bill. Mr. Poirot, would it be possible for you to come back to Devon? Lady Clark has expressed a wish to see you. We'll adjust her medicine so she'll not be too drowsy.
But of course, I shall come the day after tomorrow if it is convenient. Thank you all for coming.
So I imagine
We will
Lady
meet
Clark
again soon.
is going to potentially have a large
The meeting was most fruitful.
revelation.
Really?
Hastings, I believe now we have everything we need to find a common point between the victims. Now it is time for us to use our grey matter.
And see, the phrase little gray cells, I think, is
Let us now
probably
try and get
something
our brain cells to
that
work.
Poirot says all the time. And it's weird that they're not translating that literally and directly every time. Okay. Betty was seeing other men as well as Donald. Betty had a photo of her and Donald. The victim was called Asher. I wonder if Lady Clark's first name might start with an A and her middle name might start with a B. It'd be very funny if it turned out that the murderer, Cursed, is a red herring. Okay. Miss Asher took a cough medicine. Betty had problems with her voice. Was this guy? famous retired doctor. All the victims suffered from throat afflictions, which might very well mean that
The first two victims suffered from bad throat, and that was precisely
that
the
a
specialty of the
doctor's
third victim,
list
Dr. Clark.
We have a lead.
It would pay to take a closer look at the medical records of Dr. Clark's patients.
and they gave me 5
We'll
ego
do so
points.
during our next visit to Justin.
So was that the
I
wrong
will do it
answer?
myself,
Were
mon
there
ami.
multiple
You
right
must remain in
answers?
London just in case ABC sends us another letter.
Very well, as you wish.
Like, was it necessary to change how this game kind of change the story slightly so it's more of a video game and easier to
Thank you
pull
for
off?
coming, Mr. Poirot.
Or
Lady Clark is waiting for you in her bedroom on the first floor.
was this...
Please excuse me, I cannot stay for the interview. I've to take Miss Gray to the station to see our lawyer in Torquay.
Let's see.
Are you leaving Cheston for good?
Miss Gray very kindly stayed with me to settle my brother's affairs, but naturally she prefers to find a position in London.
Ah, très bien.
I'll be absent all morning, Mr. Poirot, but the nurse is coming soon. She's to ensure that the dose of medicine doesn't make our patient drowsy.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
See, I'm trying
Have a
to
nice
get
trip, mademoiselle.
to a nice stopping point here. There's some weirdness certainly with a mirror that is showing you a reflection that you actually can't see because it's further in the background here. Let's see. I want to quit, even if this potentially puts us back a small point. Let's go ahead and quit and see where we are with this. Yeah, we are at 261 of 600 ego points and 54% done with the story, which makes me think that 46% of the story may very well be chasing after the murderer, even after we kind of figure out who it is. Unlike a Sherlock Holmes story, it seems like at this point we kind of have just been told who it is as far as the murder victim. It's weird that timelines seem like they are still going to play a big role, and clearly some of these timelines are going to go back and fill in gaps and highlight things from the murderer's perspective. Seems like there really could only be one more murder for the number of slots that have been used already. And that would certainly make sense. Also, if there was a D or a different C, which, it would be funny if it turned out Cursed was not the murderer, but the true victim that was supposed to have happened, and it got diverted by the real ABC killer. So here, if we've finished Churston as far as first visit, then there's clearly a second visit. And if we were to assume that all of these achievements here are for going to places, there are 5 more places. Let's see. As far as focus, we've done half of the observations, which hopefully we could do them all. We've done half of the brain cells. Hopefully we'll do all of them. Let's see. Half of the interviews to perfection. I wonder if perfection here doesn't really mean that you did it absolutely perfectly and really just means you finished an interview. That would be nicer, certainly. Let's see. Looked in the mirror a bunch of times and focused on beauty and order, which seems to be a big part of Poirot's move. So, small donkey, even Poirot sometimes makes mistakes. Medium donkey, large donkey. So, from what it seems like, is you couldn't get all of these achievements in one playthrough even if you wanted to, because you're going to have to make apparently a lot of mistakes to get to large donkey. Sitting in the chair and then cleaning something. Half of the riddles have been solved. Who knows what stone and incense burner is? We've coordinated the final meeting without a single hitch. Congratulations. Interesting. So maybe you have to do that 3 different times. Some of these achievements certainly are just talking about random things. Some of these seem unavoidable. Although some of these also very well have already been missed. Let's see. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these achievements are also things that I've missed and pretty much would need an achievement guide and 2 playthroughs to pull off. Unless they give me some kind of chapter selection after playing the game, I don't see how I would be able to get all of these achievements. And I'm not sure I really understand the reasons for the achievements in this kind of game. The real motivation should just be wanting to finish the game and solve the mystery. And the mystery is completely gone after the first time you've played it. So I think there could have been a lot less effort around the idea of adding achievements, and maybe just had 2 or 3, maybe 6 at most, and then more around the focus of having a better engine, better lip flap animations, maybe a bit of a better feedback on the ego points so that you know whether you're doing well or poorly on that. However, I still have to say, compared to the Nancy Drew game I just played, this is way, way better. Not as video gamey as, say, the first Beneath Broken a Sword. I almost said Beneath a Steel Sky. That's a different point-and-click adventure game. Yeah, the first Broken Sword, much more video gamey, took in a lot more places to do a lot more puzzles to figure out a mystery. That is more random, certainly, than this is. This is obviously being based off a murder mystery novel focused on a murder mystery. So it would be very weird if my speculation of them all being in a secret society and or some secret organization, if that came to be the case, that'd be weird. What's also weird is we got the spring out of the pin and then did absolutely nothing with it. So obviously at some point we're going to use that spring, but probably later in the story. I don't know if we're ever going to get any kind of action sequences where Poirot gets kidnapped or tied up or anything like that, where it probably would help if Hastings and Poirot got kidnapped and tied up, just to throw some action into a story. Although novels tend not to really need anywhere as much action as video games and movies do. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.